during our last conversation, I encourage the community to check out the last time Todd was on the show. We chatted about Spidey. We chatted about Malibu Sun. Go check that out. But you alluded to the publishing wing expanding. Spawn universe dropped. And I would love to go through some of these records with you.
Sure. Yeah, because each one, because sometimes even the journalists miss a word here and there, and I go, well, that's not quite true if you drop that word. But I can tell you what the records are.
Let's go through them. Spawn Universe 1, out the gate, 225K copies ordered by retailers.
Right. So that one just, anything over 100K at Image is like a big deal, right? And so we started looking, saying, when's the last time we had a new book sell over 200,000? There's been the odd Walking Dead anniversary book and even Spawn 300 and 301, but like a new launch, right? And up to that point, we were doing really good. The crossover did well. The Department of Truth, Noctura, Undiscovered Country. I mean, we were like, it used to be the Image put out a book and we got 50, 60,000. That was a big, big number. And now all of a sudden during the pandemic, those numbers were literally doubling. And so we were getting a handful that were not only over 100,000, but some of them climbing close to 200. But when Spawn's Universe came out and went well over 200, then we started sort of doing our research, going, when's the last time we had a new comic launch? And it was in the 1990s. So, and it was a minimum of 25 years. So I was either saying, hey, biggest launch, new comic book launch at Image in 25 years, or if you want to simplify it, you just say, hey, biggest comic book launch at Image in the 21st century, right? So here we go, which is a minimum of 20 years. Depends on what sounds sexier to you. 25 years is longer than the 21st century, but you say the whole century, sometimes people read that as being a bigger deal.
Well, I like the way you said it, and yes, it sounds sexy. I mean, 25 years, that's incredible. It's outstanding. And then you do King Spawn 1, and between the first and second printing, over 500,000 copies ordered by retailers.
So that one then became, well, what's the biggest ordered comic book period, right? Forget that it was a number one. Forget that it was a new title. Forget any of that. Just when's the last time somebody sold over 500,000? And then that for a superhero monthly book. Again, let's be clear, right? Superhero monthly book. That's the business I'm in. I don't want to talk about other stuff. So all of a sudden, people start showing me the list, and depending on sort of how you sort of factor in the counting of it, and or a bunch of the books did what we call retailer exclusives. This is where a store can order books to get a cover that only that store get, right? We do some of them at Image. I mean, I'm constantly getting asked that for Spawn, but I don't do it. And so, but it's a way to, get your numbers up a little bit. And if you do 40 or 50 of them, then you can really jump the numbers. But even if you looked at all of those, it was still going to be like, depending on your argument, one of the top 3 books in the last 20 years. But for a new launch, then yes, because the books I was going against were, issue 600 of Spider-Man and Detective 1000. I mean, they were anniversary books. So for a new launch, biggest new launch, forget Image now, get rid of the word Image, right? Biggest new launch in comic books in the 21st century in 25 years. Boom, done. And then we just got the numbers on Gunslinger, and that one is the biggest new launch in the 21st century for a new character. And the definition of a new character is basically somebody who's never had a book before, right? That's my definition. Where King Spawn obviously had the OG Spawn in it. Every time they come out with another Spider-Man, Batman, it's still that character. And still was like, man, when was the last time somebody who never had a book before? That number we were chasing was like 330 or 40,000 from Spider-Gwen from Marvel.
That was back in 2015.
After that, it's a big drop. Because if you get 150,000 on a new character title, woo, right? Because people don't know who that character is, right? So yes, you're going to get one if you take Wolverine and put him in his own book. If you put Superman in his own book, or even Spawn, but you take a new character. But Gunslinger took on that record and beat that one. So for a new character launch, we just did it. And 2 months ago, for an old character launch, we just did that one.
Numbers are looking like it's going to be above 350,000. 385 is what I'm seeing publicized. The Scorched releasing in December is going to be a team up book. And if the records continue, that's going to break a record for a team narrative ongoing story. This is incredible. And I have to ask, what was the inspiration behind doing this Spawn universe, and why now? You said it yourself. Like, this is Corona. Last year, we were chatting about being shut down for 3 months. No one's really hitting these types of numbers with consistency. And this is now going to be 4 number ones on a run in 30 years that you haven't done anything like this with this franchise. Comic fam, we're going to get right back to this video, but not before I tell you about the new sponsor of our show, Whatnot, the best new place to buy and sell funny books, expensive paper, comic books. Download the app, available for both Androids and iPhones. Support the show. Hit the link in the description and get access to be able to attend auctions that are happening 24/7. Whatnot has done an amazing job bringing on vetted sellers to host these auctions, and huge names in the comic market. We're talking some big stores like Frankie's Comics, The Comic Mint, That Spider-Man Booth, Sanctum Sanctorum Comics, Torpedo Comics, and every single Wednesday, I'm bringing my homies. We have Nerdy Girl Comics, myself, Russ the Comic Sensei, Comic Pops, my Faja, the Golden Age Guru, Sammy and Tony from Skeleton Key, and the powerful Rage Theo for a 7-hour power hour of $1 start auctions that are 60 seconds long. Join us on Wednesdays, support so many different members beyond ourselves, and let's get back to the video.
Yeah, and maybe I mean, we'll see. Maybe the whole is better than the parts. My expectation is that everybody's not going to necessarily collect all 4. Hopefully, they'll sample them and choose which ones they think are their favorites. The why now? There is no why now. It was why didn't you do it way sooner, Todd? Because I've been in this business a long time, been doing Spawn for almost 30 years, and I've been thinking about it almost constantly for all 30 years. The question is, why did it take you so damn long, Todd? But I knew when I was nearing issue 300 of Spawn, I knew we were going to get a lot of attention. I knew that there was going to be a lot of eyeballs on it, and that if I was ever going to do it, that was going to be my moment that I could at least begin to lay formal plans, concrete plans. So if you look at the covers, I should have them here. I should always have them here so I can hold them up. But if you look at the covers that Jerome Pena did on issue 300 and 301, I inked both those. Both of them are just this collection of characters. And I remember a bunch of people going, Todd, why are you doing those covers? A bunch of those characters aren't in the story. And my answer was, yeah, well, just wait. Right. So it was my my little wink, my little hint of saying that something's about to come, I'm just going to put it on the covers first, and then we'll eventually catch up to the books later. And that was it. And then I needed to set some things in the regular Spawn book. I needed to go find the art and teams and the writing teams and letters and colorists and everything you got to do to put books together, and get those books going and make sure that we were all on schedule. And then at that point I went, I think we're ready. I think we're ready. And it had nothing to do with COVID per se. It was just I was ready, and I had assembled the teams because I was making those phone calls pre-COVID. And it just happened that by the time we got it done and we published them, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and the comic book industry was doing quite well with their sales, and I was able to sort of help take some of that momentum and bring it over to some of my books.
Fantastic.